Well, I think we're joined online now by Rinu, who, like you mentioned, there was a member of the Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry, and she resigned during the week when the vote happened. Rinu, if you can hear me, how are you doing?
Hi, good afternoon, Ebuka.
Thank you very much for joining us. First of all, you have had your bank accounts closed at some point. I know you also had issues getting your Nigerian passport renewed and all of that. Why was this the breaking point for you?
Well, it's been something that I've been thinking about. When my bank account was frozen, I really didn't think much about it because I knew that despite everything that would happen or that is happening or that happened, we have to get justice for victims was the utmost priority. Then followed by my passport being seized and a lot of other intimidation tactics the government was using. I still, kept believing that the panel would give justice to those victims. But however, when it came to the decision on the toll gate, my loyalties have always been known right from the start, and my stance has always been known. Justice for the victim has to be the priority and of utmost importance before anything else can come to reality. I mean, the courts were burnt in Lagos. Nobody's asking to rebuild the courts. Bus station, I mean, the one in Oyinbo was burnt. Nobody's asking that how would they rebuild or how would they buy back all the buses that were burnt. But the toll gate is the utmost priority. We're yet to listen to these victims. The army is refusing to come to the panel. We're yet to know of the level of involvement that LCC has, coupled with the fact that this same LCC refused to release their servers to the forensic expert so that the forensic expert can authenticate the footage which they submitted to the panel. And the panel goes ahead to release the toll gate to them. I mean, it was just the height of it all for me. And I said, you know what, the government is only out to use us for performative actions. I don't think that they really, really intend to make this work, because I think for me, all they want to do is to just whitewash their image with the panel, make it look as if they are doing something, which is literally nothing to me. So that's why I said, you know what, I think this is not working for me. The panel is going to, one of the most important things is that the victims are given a space, they're given opportunity to hear their voices, to hear their complaints. But is the government really committed to the duty man? And looking at what happened yesterday to the protesters at the Lekki toll gate, you would agree with me that I was entirely right.
Okay, I want to ask a two-part question now. First of all, you've been on the panel for a couple of months now. Working with your fellow panelists, up until this point, did you feel like there was something that was going to be achieved with regards to your other fellow panel members? There were 9 of you, 5 voted for the toll gate to be open, 4 others voted against. Up until the vote happened, did you feel a sense of a division on the panel? And secondly, there's been arguments about the fact that the youth needs to be represented on this panel. Now you've left. It seems like we're losing out even more. What's your take on that?
Reformative social change, where victims get to heal. It's not only by paying people money or compensation that they get to heal. Some people just want an avenue where they tell the world what has happened to them, what they've passed through the hands of these police officers. They just want to let people know that they are also victims of the system. They've also been brutalized and harassed. So during those times I was sitting, I felt like, yes, we're on a course, because these people kept coming, kept telling their horrible stories. I mean, these stories were horrific, to be honest. Some were amputated, most of them extrajudicial killings and the rest. The stories were really horrific. So I felt like the most important, we're halfway through the course, because telling your story alone is one way of healing. Then we'll talk about compensation, we'll talk about healthcare, we'll talk about therapy and the rest. So there was no division in the panel, because yes, the phase we're on was listening to the victims. Now it came to making major decisions on the panel. I mean, this panel wasn't the initiative of the government. The NSAS protest led to the youth demanding for the 5 for 5, which the judicial panel was part of these 5 for 5 demands. And before those panels could work, there had to be youth representative on them, because there was already this distrust between the government and the people. So without the youth representatives representing the youth constituency, those panels would have never moved to its hearing phase. So we are an important part of the decision. Now, when it came to the decision of the Lekki toll gate, we were on the opposite side. We believed that the toll gate could not have been opened right away, and told the chairman. But 5 other members of the panel said they believe that the toll gate should be open. Now, we said we need to talk about this issue very carefully, because our constituency is expecting something from us. We're not yet to help the government justify itself. We're yet to get justice for the victims. So we just found out, the rest of the panel members decided to go in and make the announcement without us, in the absence of the youth reps and civil society members. I mean, it literally turned to something else. Until that point, there was no division. We're working.
So what happens to your position on the panel now? What happens to your seats on the panel?
Well, like I told someone yesterday, I think that we would see. There's still one other youth rep on the panel. I believe that he has the capacity to still keep fighting and keep standing. But to my own morals and conscience, I do not believe that I can remain on the panel and allowed my name to be rubber stamped into major decisions that I do not agree with, that I do not believe represent the best interest of the constituency I am there to represent. I'm not there for myself. I'm there for the youth.
Now, what happened yesterday is directly linked pretty much to, the votes of the panel and, the reopening of or the repossession, whatever word the government has been using, of the Lekki toll gate. Do you feel vindicated by your decision to leave the panel, saying what happened yesterday, or are you now worried about how things are going to turn out going forward?
Both. I would say that on one hand, I feel vindicated that this is what I was talking about. On the other hand, I'm very worried about what is going to happen next. Because I mean, you don't expect me to remain on a panel that is supposed to be for restitution and reconciliation. A panel that the government said, oh, you know what? This is evidence that we've listened to the demands of these young people. Look at the panel. They demanded for a panel, and we set one up just for them to stop the protest, just for them to go back home. Now, while on that panel, people decided to come out to protest because of a decision which the government literally took on its own, because they were pressuring the panel. They kept applying times without number for the toll gate to be reopened, as if that was their utmost priority. And you went ahead yesterday to brutalize people, to beat up protesters. These people they've not even started protesting when they were thrown into Black Maria and passed and transported to over 3 police stations in Lagos State. I mean, literally, the police will tell you most of the times they don't work on Saturdays. The courts don't work on Saturdays. You cannot bail somebody on the weekend. You have to wait till Monday. Yesterday, a mobile court was set up around 6 p.m. in the evening to arraign people, protesters, on frivolous charges after beating them, after smashing their phones, after seizing lots of their properties. And you still think that I would remain on the panel? I mean, my conscience would have allowed me to if I hadn't resigned on Friday. On the other hand, I'm worried about the government commitment to all this. They are telling the media, they are telling the whole world, they are telling Nigerians that we're listening to these people, these young children. They just want to destroy things. They just want to go ahead to threaten national security. They literally called protesters terrorists. Meanwhile, right in front of the press, like I said, you are beating up
thank
people.
You very much, Rinu. Actually, before we go, is your bank account functional again?
Yes, it has been unfrozen after the court ordered CBN.
Rinu, can you hear me?
However, we're still going to go ahead to sue Central Bank of Nigeria because they said they were going to make investigations. They accused over 20 people.
Okay.